Welcome everyone, my name.
What's up guys, in this tutorial today I'll be showing you how to make this in Cinema 4D. Very easy, very simple, so let's jump right into it. Go into your, open up Cinema 4D, let's go to File, and let's go to Merge. Go ahead and find your object, so I have this stuff right here. Grab the OBJ file, click Open, and that should be good. Go into your presets, choose 3ds Max or Maya. If you don't have those, keep it on default. And in your scale, make sure it is 100, and that's fine right there. If your character is still too small, go to chord and make sure your S's right here, all the XYZ are at 100, just these three. Alright, so first off, we're going to go ahead and make the scene, the Lightroom and the lights. So let's go ahead and delete these three materials. Just select and delete. And now let us go ahead and make a plane. So let's go to our parametric objects, look for a plane, let's drag it out, and that's wide enough. Let's bring it up some. That's good enough right there. Press C. Let's go ahead and to our edge mode. Oh wait, whoa, let's go back actually. So to go back, just press Ctrl Z, and let's go into our attributes of our plane. So select plane, go to object. Make sure your width and height segments are 1 by 1 and press C. Now let's go into our edge mode. Select the edge over here, hold Control and drag up. Go into your edge mode. Select this edge, right click and bevel, and that should be good enough right there. Make sure your subdivisions are pretty high, and that should be fine. And that's perfect right there. So now we need to set up our lights. So to do this, let's go ahead and drag up a light, area light, and bring it out some. Let's select our rotate tool, hold shift and rotate. You want to make sure this blue line is all the way facing the character. So let's drag it off to the end. Let's go into this view right here. So just select this and you have these options. Hold on. So yes, you want to make sure this one is all the way to the end. Let's go ahead and bring it out. Go into the front view and make sure it's pretty wide. Not too wide, you want it to be just like this. Now let's go ahead into our right view and rotate it. That's good enough right there. Now let's go into our move tool. Let's click this to make sure our axis is straight. Let's hold Control and drag. Now let's go into our rotate tool again. Let's click this again to make sure it's even. Click, hold shift, rotate 180 degrees, and that's fine right there. Now let's go ahead back into our perspective mode, and that should be fine right there. So now let's make a material for our backdrop. So go to create, or just double click to make a new material. Let's rename this backdrop. To open the material, just double click on it, and that'd be fine right there. And that's pretty much all. Let's drag this onto our backdrop. Let's rename the plane to backdrop. And now let's go into our layers. Let's right click, new layer, rename this layer to scene. Let's drag the backdrop onto the scene and the material onto the scene. That way you have organization of what's what. If I want to just remove this, there we go. That's fine right there. So now let's make some stuff for our test renders, because now we're going to be doing a lot of light testing and all that stuff. So let's go into our settings. Let's go ahead and look for effect, ambient occlusion, effect, and global illumination. In your GI settings, you want to make sure your preset is either on Object Viz High or Object Viz Preview. I'm choosing High for myself. If you have like a bad render times, choose Preview. So yeah. And then go in your renderer, make sure you choose Physical. And that should be good right there. Now let's go ahead and just find a good spot in our viewport for a camera. Or let's just make a camera. So go to create, camera. Let's go into this mode right here and select the camera. And down here in your position, make sure it's 0. Oh wait, let's make sure it's 0, 0, 0. In your rotation, make sure it's 0, 0, and that's good right there. Now let's drag the camera on the x-axis, and now let's click the rotate tool and hold shift, and that's good right there. That way our camera is completely even with our scene, it's facing straight, and that's pretty much good. I mean, it's pretty much it right there. Now let's drag it up on the y-axis. Now let's go into our camera mode. Now let's control our camera through these right here. So I want to go up on the Y, I want to go below, or I can go to chord. In my Y, I can just do this. And in my rotation, let's see, nope, that's not it. So put that back at 90. Okay, yeah, that's good right there. So in our rotation P, let's kind of bring this up. That's good right there. Let's get back out of our camera view by clicking this. Now let's go ahead and drag it down. And make sure this is on when you drag it down, so it's not like, so it doesn't get off. So that's good right there. Let's make sure it shows the feet. Bring it up just a little bit more. Perfect. Alright, so now to lock this in position so we don't move our camera, go to Cinema 4D tags and choose protection. Now our character is even, our camera is even, everything's aligned. Now let's go ahead and move on to our render testing. Let's open up the cogwheel, let's go to material override, let's drag this backdrop material onto this. So that way we can just focus on the lighting and the backdrop for now. So let's go ahead and get out of our camera view. Actually, let's go back in and just render. So to do a test render, let's click this. And this will give us some test. So as you can see, it's clearly pretty basic right now. So let's select one of the lights. Let's go to general. Let's select both of them actually. Go to general and make sure your shadow map is on area. Go to your details and click on show and reflection and make sure your fall off is inverse square physically accurate. Now we can control our lights and the spreadness of them, the spreadiness. And that's good right there. And let's see, that should be fine. Let's make one brighter than the other. Alright, select one of the lights. So let's make one kind of orange. Let's make another, make it kind of blue. Alright, that's good right there. Go back into your camera mode. Let's make another test render and see if that's good enough right there. So I'd say it's pretty decent, maybe a little bit too bright on this side. So let's go ahead and back into our, let's select this, let's bring this back some, make it less radial. And now let's go ahead and make another light. So go ahead and choose area, let's bring it all the way up, rotate it 90 degrees. So click, hold shift, 90. And that's good right there. Remember to have the blue facing, oh, let's uncheck this. Yeah, make sure you have the blue facing the character. So, yep. And let's make sure this is a little bit wide, but not too wide. Let's bring it over here. Let's rotate it. Make sure it's like that. Alright. Let's go into this one. Let's make it area, details, inverse square visibly accurate, and show in reflection. Let's bring it out some, just a little bit. Let's make another test render. We can maybe increase the brightness just a little bit. I mean, everything will change when we get our character material set up, so this is just basic right now, like a little introductory. Alright, so that right there is good enough. Let's decrease the brightness on this one. So go to general, in your intensity, let's go ahead and lower it kind of. And in the light one, let's go ahead and lower the intensity and give it another test render. Okay, yeah, that's better than before. So now let's go ahead and set up our material. So let's go back into our cogwheel. Let's uncheck material override. So now we can go ahead and make a new material. Let's open up our character. Let's go ahead and delete these. So just select them all, press delete. Let's select this group. Let's go ahead and right click and delete without children. Now let's select all of our objects of the character. Let's go to mesh, axis center, click axis center, and execute. So now our points are centered, and that's good right there. Let's go ahead and drag this material onto the arms. And I want to make another test render for now. Let's see how this is going to look. Alright, so yeah, we're kind of getting somewhere. Let's go ahead and organize our material in our character. So let's go to new layer. Let's rename this character or characters. Let's go ahead and select our objects of the character. Let's right click and group. Let's rename it to Alar Knight or whatever character you're using. Let's drag it onto characters. Let's rename this to body Max. Let's drag this onto the character. Alright, so now that's pretty set up. We have our scene material and our character material. I'm going to be on all for now, so actually I'm going to be on character. So now let's go into our bump. Let's go ahead and make a layer. So click on the arrow, let's make a layer. Go into the layer, let's go ahead and shader. Let's choose shader, let's choose filter. Now in this filter you want to click on that the black box, and in the texture you want to go ahead and find your material of your character. So once you have your character material into this part, make your saturation 0, and that should be fine right there. Let's go ahead and let's go into our editor, and the texture preview size, let's choose no scaling, and let's go into our bump and let's make the strength kind of high. That's good enough right there. Let's go back into our layer. Let's go to shader, let's choose noise, and the noise, let's go ahead and go to our noise again. Let's choose blister turbulence, and as you can see we kind of have this stone material. Let's make the global scale kind of high or low. That's good enough right there. I'm going to go to my filter or options. If you have R19, this would show up, and I would choose noise. Nothing happened. Oh, okay, hold on. Shadows. I'm just going to turn all this on, so isolation. And alright, now I'll give it a test render. Now we can see how this will look. And as you can see, our kind of like blister turbulence looks pretty decent for our character. If I look back on here, we have it right here. You can see it. We have it right here and right here. It kind of makes it look like real metal that's kind of scratched up, or steel. So you get the point. I'm going to increase the global scale more. I'll also go back up. So to go back up, just click this arrow. Let's choose multiply. So that way it goes over this texture. And now let me render it again. So now we have the blister turbulence on top of that other material. I mean on top of our normal bump layer. Did I choose the right one? Hold on. Oh, I didn't even choose the right one. Hold on. Yeah, I didn't choose the body, I chose the head material. So that was my mistake. It wasn't looking right, of course. Now let me go ahead and do a test. And as you can see, we have some much better details right here. Our blister turbulence needs to be stronger, so let me go ahead and go back up. Or yeah, let's increase the brightness. Let's keep the brightness back at normal. So go back. Let's make this. Let's see, darken. I'm going to only render a certain area. So to do this, just click on this right here and render region. We have that option, and we can just test things out there. Nope. Let's choose overlay. Let's kind of increase the contrast. And now let's give it a test. Okay, yeah, so that kind of helped that contrast. Anyway, so go back into, I don't know if I just skip this over. Go back into noise, make sure it's on blister. Yeah, I already said that. Anyway, what was I doing? Yes, make sure this is on overlay. And then make sure your contrast is up some. And that should be fine right there. Go into reflectance, let's remove this. Let's go ahead and add a specular blend. Let's increase the strength. Let's decrease the width. Let's give it a test render and see how it looks. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for our bump. Now we need to go ahead and do this in our specular. And as you can see, it kind of looks really a little bit metallic. That should be fine right there. We're missing something else in our bump too. So if I go back to our material, we have like just little itty bitty details all around, just minor ones, and that will kind of like help with the render. So let's go back into our bump. Let's click the layer. Let's go ahead and shader, noise, and just like the last tutorial, let's go ahead and choose Hama. Make sure the global scale is like 2. And I'm going to give a test render just to see what our scale is at. And I should probably bring it up some because that's a little bit too small. 26, that's probably too large. That's why we do these test renders to see what's good. Okay, yeah, so that's, I'm gonna go with 23. Or just 20%, yeah, 20 is perfect. So let me go back up. Let's make this into multiply. Nope, overlay. Yeah, let's make an overlay and let's lower the opacity to like 16%. Let's give it another test render and see how it looks. Alright, and that right there is perfecto. Yep, that's pretty much our bump. Now we can call that done. So let's go back into our reflection and let's maybe increase the width. Let's lower the fall off and let's see how it looks. Alright, and that kind of evened it out right there. Now let us go into our color. Let's go ahead and load in our character texture. So let me open that up. And now let's see how everything looks. Now your render time might be slower because with the color channel on top of all that, it makes it kind of look like less. I mean, kind of like adds more detail for the renderer to do. So yeah. And as you can see, it looks pretty decent. But if I go back to this, we have these highlights right here that kind of adds more to it, adds more detail. So let's go back and check that, make sure it's there. So go to add, let's choose GGX. Let's make this attenuation to additive. Let's increase the roughness. Let's go into our bump again. Let's go to the layer. Let's copy this filter, so just right click on it, copy shader, and go into our roughness. Let's paste that there. Let's go into our strength and paste that there. Whoa. Yeah, whoa. Anyway, yeah, paste that there. Let's decrease the strength. and let's see how it looks. Also, let's go back and lower, go into our Fresnel, let's make it conductor. And now we will see how this plays out. This will either kill it or make it better. Sometimes you want reflection completely off, you just want to roll with specular. Sometimes you may want both. It really depends on the package or the texture you're using. Yeah, so as you can see from here, our render times are kind of high just from that alone. Alright, and we have a little something that looks better than before, adding much more detail into it. So we maybe just need to increase the roughness, but we'll see when we start to make our final render. See our belt, it looks very clean. It looks like an actual belt with some nice material, nice and bump on it. The cloth looks very good. We have these coming right here, adds more depth from that bump map. And we have these highlights. We may need to go over the highlights, but we'll do that after we're done with our helmet material. And with the helmet, it's pretty much the same. The only reason why I didn't do the helmet is because my helmet material was separate. So yeah, sometimes, or 99% of the time, your helmet will be in the default texture, so you won't have to redo the process. So that's it right there. Yep. I'm going to increase the roughness a little bit more, and then I'm going to test out this part of the chest. Alright. Okay, yeah, so I'm liking that right there. That's pretty good. Now let me go ahead and do this helmet. If you don't if you have to do the helmet on your own too, just do it. Just repeat the steps I just did. I won't really be explaining the helmet part, since it's pretty much just a redo. Make a new material. Let me see some stuff. Also, you can just copy this stuff right here. So just copy shader, go to the to the new material, paste, go to color, or let me see, find the helmets. Nope. Go ahead and copy that. Go back to the bump, go to filter, and just paste it there. That's simple as that. Drag this onto the head. Go into reflection. You can really just copy the reflection. So let's see. Oh, I can't do that. So I have to do it individually. So I'm gonna just copy, remove, paste, copy, paste. Go back here, copy again. Reflection. Make sure you're on number 2, and let's see, where did I put that at? Strength, filter, go ahead and paste. Go back up. Roughness. Go ahead and paste. And that's pretty much it right there. Now let me go ahead and test out this. And we'll see if it looks good or not. Hopefully it does. And once that's done, we'll pretty much just tweak our lights, and that should be it. Yeah, so we have very good highlight right here. Some nice fall off of the reflection, kind of strong on the right or left. Pretty good. So now what we need to do is kind of position our character some kind of like this. He's rotated and all of this stuff. So I'm just going to rotate, and then I will make another test render and see how this looks. Alright, so that's pretty good of a render. Now let's go ahead and tweak our lights some. So let me just go back out of my camera view. Oh. Yeah, so let me go back out of my camera view. Let's go ahead and create another light. Go ahead and drag it up. Go to your light. Let's go ahead and make a new layer for our lights. Let's name it lighting. Let's select all of these lights and drag it onto there. Let's drag our camera into the scene. Alright, that's good right there. So characters, scene. Let's rename our helmet to, alright, that's good right there. select that light again. Let's go ahead into our attributes. Let's make it shadow map soft, details, and square physically accurate. And let me go into my camera view again. Let me go out, bring it closer. This is like fake lighting, so you may need to do this a lot because this isn't like a very good render engine like Cycles and Blender, so this is what you would need to do sometimes, or majority. So let me render this out, see how it looks. Alright, so that's pretty good for our roughness, our lights. Last of the one. So now what we need to do is add character to the background. So let me just control, drag back, bring it closer. Let's say this one, have it facing this side. And then I will just click on this and hold control. That's why it goes directly side to side. I rotate this over some. Alright, and I will do one more test render, maybe increase this some, bring it forward and lower. Also, I will go back into my body material and increase the rough, or yeah, no, it depends really. I will maybe increase the specular and do a last or just another test render, so yeah. Alright, so I'm really not liking how our reflection is kind of all over the place really. It's not really, it's not really intricate to me, so I will kind of want it to be less like dotted or noisy. So to do this, I will just go back to my main body material. I will go into reflection. I will clear out the roughness and see how this looks on one part. But it seems like it wasn't that. Maybe let's control C to go back, clear out the strength. So if I just clear out the strength, control Y. Let me control Y that. Whoa. Oh wait, whatever. Copy and paste. So I'll be right back. I have to see what's going on. Yeah, so that's pretty good for our final render. So to make our last render, let's go ahead and if you don't want the background, just select the background, right click, set them for detags and protection. Let's select this, not protection, set up for detags, and let's choose compositing. Select this, let's uncheck scene by camera. Let's go into our render settings again, save, PNG, alpha, physical. I'm going to make this high, not right now for the tutorial, but when you actually do your final render, make sure it's on high if your render time isn't that long. So output lock ratio 1920 by 1080. Alright, now let me go ahead and render. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial. That's how you render out packages in detail. Well, for a package like this, it's really different for every package because not every single one is a night. But you can use the same process to make materials for packages and make them look high quality and stuff for your renders. So yeah, another tip, so if you want the background, just select this again and check scene by camera, go into your settings. And yeah, also if you want any glow in it, like highlights, you can just go to effect and look for glow and maybe lower the luminosity, and that's it. Make sure you guys check out the description for timestamps in case you need to come back to the tutorial. What else? Make sure you guys support me on Patreon if you want to. And that's it. If you were lazy to follow this, the scene files is in the description. So yeah, the original scene file, to have it exactly look like this, is in the description. So yeah, alright, I'm out of here.
With Instagram hoes, got a boatload, got a K on the side of me is what they don't know. Yo boyfriend a fucking lame, he a bozo, like Santa Claus, swear to God I got hella hoes. Walked in this bitch with my my ice on. I don't trust you snake ass niggas, y'all some pie.